Get started. Thank you. All right. So this panel is on LaffCon in translation and non-U.S. reception of our LaffCon. I'll start. I didn't diagram it, but I'm pretty sure this is from the Whitaker interview. Again, LaffCon. Languages. How many do you know? Like I said, background in languages I haven't. Well, I like to fool around, which is kind of a lie. I think he had some Latin instruction. I haven't any, but I like to fool around with them and always had. Latin and Spanish were all that I took in high school, and a college course in German. I can count them for 13 languages from here in my chair. And there should be more in the back room. It's a pleasant game. I've never gone deeply into any of them. 6 of them I can read fluently enough for most purposes. They got slowly and tortuous. I haven't fooled with them much lately. Yes, how are the translations of your work? This was 82, There's quite a few of my books have been translated into French, Dutch, Italian, Spanish. I just saw the date. Quite a few of my books have been translated into French, Dutch, English, French, Dutch, Italian, Spanish. French and Dutch are tied now with 4 books each, January 1976. But Dutch will move ahead with local Hanali. It's fun to be in Dutch. Local Hanali coming out. Short stories but not complete books yet were translated into Polish, Russian, and Japanese. Things seem to be all right, except the first translations. Move. DEMUT, who does some of my books in French, has sent me several lists of inquiries on just what I meant. I'll be able to explain the mythological implications of the phrase I used, and that is the Peachtree Orchard board. And I couldn't do it. I had to tell him it was just an old country phrase. And we'll leave it at that. But so he, all that is languages as a pleasant game. He describes his enormous. But yeah, we know that there's something dear to him, and so I think this is a special panel in exploring how that was worked out in practice over the years. As now it's been translated. Gregorio has had an interest in this, and I'll let him speak for himself. I'm gonna mess it up now. Tyriku is going to talk about the Japanese context, and Yakov will be talking about the Russian and maybe broader Eastern European, but mostly. Yeah. And that's what we got. I'm excited to hear from you guys. So you just introduce yourself and your background, and then we'll go into the specifics.
The purposes of the panel, not only qualifications, is that I read Spanish, and I've read several of his translations in Spanish. I know something about the context of the reception of LaffCon in the Spanish-speaking world. That's about
it. I read LaffCon everything in Japanese since high school. First one I read was either that's we frustrated Sherman. Yurima's Down or the 7 Days Tell. And since then, I like LaffCon all the time and read everything that's published in Japanese.
My name is Yakov Bartonov. I'm a biologist by profession and came from Russia in 1997. By then, I already was familiar with LaffCon through his short stories that were published in Russian in various magazines in the early 90s mostly. and I was a big fan. Here, what else is out there? And when I came here, learned English, started reading his simpler stories first, and then more advanced works. As my English was progressing, and lifetime friend, I guess. One of Russian friend publishers of LaffCon2, his translations. So he sent me his manuscript translations, and I corroborated some of his interpretations because he wasn't sure about certain expressions in English, lacking the cultural background. So I tried to give him a hand with that.
Okay. So we've got some cover. I think we got the tech version. I think what I'd like to do is have Gregorio talk about the Spanish, and then we'll just go down the line.
It's always struck me that there was more of LaffCon locations in the 1980s in the Spanish-speaking world. That's exactly the point in time in which LaffCon was losing favor in the United States in his home country. Right? That's where he was, finding critical difficult to novels published. So one question: why the LaffCon Renaissance in the 1980s? And partly it can be attributed to the lag from English to Spanish. Okay. 60s was in the Spanish-speaking world. That's when you first began in translating and publishing American science fiction. And at first, for the first decade or so, for most of the 60s, almost exclusively the science fiction, American science fiction that was translated was short story anthologies. Okay. So we're talking about Year's Best SF, anthologies edited by Damon Knight, or those sorts of things. And it seems like there was a real hunger to experience American SF in these short little packets of info. And that's the way that LaffCon was introduced into the Spanish-speaking world. So in the process of translating these anthologies, invariably some LaffCon stories would be included. For LaffCon comes in the late 70s and early 80s. Decided to take a gamble and begin to translate novels and introduce them into the Spanish market. And this was not just in Spain, this was also in Latin America. I have an example here. This is from an Argentinian Ediciones Medium from Buenos Aires. And this is a translation of one of LaffCon's most obscure novels, one that didn't fare very well here in the United States. For the Spanish-speaking market in Latin America, it was translated as Los Saltamundos, the world jumpers. Anybody guess from that what novel that is?
Yes.
Not to mention camels, right? So, and I wonder if instead of Not to Mention Camels, his U.S. publisher decided to name it The World Jumpers, maybe we would have had a better commercial success here in the United States. So we're not talking about the popular stuff that was being translated, even these really odd novels by LaffCon were being translated. But of course, the main market was in Spain itself. LaffCon was eventually picked up by at the time the #1 Spanish publisher of English science fiction. Okay, to sort of give you an example of just how big this publishing company was, which was based in Barcelona. Yes, so Acénamo was the name of the publishing company. They won the contract to publish all of Frank Herbert's Dune novels. And they acquired exclusive world rights to the Spanish translations of Dune and so forth. These people were very well respected. And they didn't feel that it was odd that along with Frank Herbert and all these major bestsellers, they were going to bring out a series of translations of LaffCon's novels. These are novels that eventually went into multiple printings. Okay? Why the success? It was the Spanish public hungry for Lafferty's unique fiction? What was it? What led to this success? And I would attribute a great deal of it to the fact that I think the translators found what may have the person who's probably the most qualified to translate very unique, odd American idiom into something equivalent to Spanish flavor, what Lafferty would sound like. Sounded like English for someone who had no English background. And so I'm here to sort of give some kudos to this person. His name is Jose Maria Acosta. And he's a very interesting guy. He started off as a writer himself, mostly short story. He aspired to become a science fiction writer in the 50s and 60s. But he found he learned enough English so that he would voraciously consume English language science fiction on his own for inspiration. Eventually, he found quite a bit of work as a translator, and I think some of his talent and his ability is indicated by the fact wide scope of literature that he eventually was asked to translate. So in terms of the fantastic, he did everybody from H.P. Lovecraft to Harry Harrison, but he also translated multiple works by Henry James, Nathaniel Hawthorne, these 19th century classical writers. He got a reputation in the early 70s as the go-to guy in Spain to translate the most difficult and challenging new wave writers coming from America and the UK. To sort of give an example of that, he was asked by this particular publisher that he translated for them. The first one was Bug Jack Barron. I know him in Spin Ram.
He doesn't like the translation, by the way.
Yeah, he doesn't like the translation. I think that was an early effort, but still, can you imagine the challenge of being given translate that into another idiom? And the next one he was asked to do was the fifth head of Cerberus by Gene Wolfe. Another incredibly challenging work. And it was only then that he felt capable of tackling Lafferty. So he was commissioned. The first thing that he was commissioned was to eventually came out as Los Salmos de Espacio, which is sort of like the equivalent of the American space change. Which is sort of, as everybody here probably would attest, is kind of an easy Lafferty read, right? It's one that has a lot of humor, that the language is playful, but it's not overly complex. I think the translator just sort of acclimated himself to Lafferty. And that was a big success in the Spanish market. I was asked to translate another novel. I was asked to translate Arrive at Easter Line. Okay, yeah, I see some people are sort of like nodding in the audience. Oh my God, that's the if any of you have tried to read just in English in your native language, have given up in despair at some point. That'll give you some indication of what a horrible, daunting the translator had. And here's an addition. And in addition, it was so popular, and I know most people here would arrive at Easter Line, arrive dead on arrival. The American market, it was published as a paperback original by Valentine in, I think, 71, and it's never been reprinted. A lot of people have trouble with it. This went through 3 separate editions over 10 years. It was a runaway bestseller. I think it's a Ropa's masterpiece. I think by that time, it's not only that he gets the nuances of the imagery, and he can give accurate renditions of that in Spanish. He also gets the whimsy. That for a translator, that may be the ultimate challenge. Right? How do you get so much of humor is in the way that the words, the way they sound, the echoes and so forth. Like, how do you little translation of the words as they're on the page from the English to the Spanish? You have a very accurate translation of what the words are, but you might, in the process, also destroy the humor completely. Go beyond the words themselves, and you have to find an equivalent in the other language, which will sound as funny to the native speaker of Spanish as it to the English. Right? And I think it's in this work that that's skill. And I guess, and I think that's one of the reasons why it was such a runaway bestseller in the 80s and 90s in Spain. There's been a considerable change in Spain. They lag behind in English-speaking markets, so they grabbed onto Lafferty at least a decade after everybody else here was no longer interested in it. But eventually, the market for that kind of SF, I don't know, new wave inspired SF, you could say, eventually the taste of the audience in the Spanish-speaking world changed as well. And most of these writers have got their work starts in the 60s and 70s. So I recently heard a edition of Fourth Mansions in Spain, or has come out in Spain. I don't know if there's anybody in the audience who could say yes or no to that, or at least there was some talk about that.
The artwork was the same, the book that's in the booklet. Right?
Okay.
Raphael Cuckoo, I think I'm saying his name right. He was one of the guys advocating with the kind of bad video.
The previous was actually emailing various members of the East Electric Group for a while,
Okay.
asking about specific cultural allusions.
So my recollection was that this was actually a mainstream publisher, that they published mostly thrillers, that they wanted books that resembled Chico. And full naive Spanish-speaking readers into thinking that this was the next Da Vinci Code. And that they had bought Fourth Mansions in order to market it to fans of the Da Vinci Code. I don't know if that actually ever got off the ground, if that was actually ever done or not. That was like 2 years ago that I heard this. But it's a kind of indication of obviously they need to catch the imagination of the contemporary reader. Can't be whatever captured the imagination of readers in Spain back in the day. So there had to be some sort of new book. So Rich is out there in the audience, he's in marketing. Tell us what the Da Vinci Code would be for us to bring back Lafferty. Okay, well that's all I've got. Like I said, I've never translated Lafferty into Spanish, and it's been a long time since I lived in Spain, so that's all I've got. If you have a question.
Yeah, I just wonder whether the Catholic culture in Spain might be a reason why Lafferty might resonate there.
Yeah, I never made that association, but now that we talk the 90s, that you say it, I can sort of see that. There's a lot of visual symbolism in Arrive at Easter One itself, which tends to completely befuddle most people. Easter wine, what are you talking about? In a sort of predominant Catholic culture, the Eucharistic element would probably be intuitively received by the audience. And there's all sorts of religious imagery that pops in and out of the. You might be wondering.
I lived in Spain for a while, and I found that they celebrated a lot of the Catholic holidays, Easter, and big ones. But there was also a lot of backlashes. Which was unpopular amongst the people there in general.
Part of those broader social dynamic. I don't want to go to begin to explain that, but 100 years or more in Spain, there's been between forces that want to modernize and secularize and want progress. social forces that see that as somewhat beneficial, but also potentially very dangerous. So they want to put the brakes and say, let's slow down. Let's not rush headlong into this. Dynamic, the church is almost always invariably following on the side of the forces of let's slow down, whatever. To the point where the official church in Spain is probably one of the most distrusted institutions in the entire society. So I don't think that would be a selling point for Lafferty associated with that at all. Something else that you mentioned, I think, is instructive, and that's the fact that despite these social tensions, that the traditional life, religious, pious life of the society continues. So you have these festivals, many of them which can be traced back to the medieval period. Most of the reasons for those festivals have disappeared. There's this, even those who are anti-clerical cling strongly to those festivals, because in some ways they've almost transcended any debates between religious authorities. Now it's just the air that the people breathe, the water they drink. It's just part of it's in their DNA of who they are. If Lafferty as a Catholic author would connect with people, it would be precisely through those channels. There's something atavistic, there's something visceral about the fact that certain imagery, certain words, and so forth would resonate very deeply with Spanish-speaking audience.
Yeah, do they sell well in Argentina?
Yes.
I was wondering, because thinking of people who resemble that, who like Lafferty, or it does come up.
Much about the Argentinian market, I'm afraid. Argentina is in some ways the most European of all Latin American countries.
Right.
It has a huge population that comes from Spain and Italy. So the situation there socially is very much the same situation that you find in continental Europe, in Portugal and Spain. And so I think perhaps this sort of attraction to the traditional rituals and imageries and so forth will also be operative for the audience.
Without quite as much political.
That's true. That's true. The situation of the church in Argentina is much more. If you want to a little taste of it, it's the fact that the current pope, before he became pope, was Jorge Bergoglio. He was an Argentinian priest of Italian descent. His relationship with the government has gone back and forth. So that at times he was working in collaboration with the government, and at times he was the enemy of the government, and for persona non grata. He was actually hiding from agents of the state. In Spain, it's much more clear cut. Okay, if you're part of the institutional church, there's no ambiguity or so forth. Everybody just takes it for granted that you must, in your heart of hearts, be who's in favor of Franco or monarchy or some sort of going back to ancient modes of living and so forth. There's nothing like in Argentina.
I was thinking about, is there any place else in the world that has a tall tale tradition? Or for chocolate has that kind of thing in it.
Yeah.
Which I think is originally Spanish language.
Sure, yeah. It's interesting that Lafferty has never had any success in Mexico. He's never been published by a Mexican publisher, to my knowledge. I've corresponded, met maybe 2 or 3 Mexican fans of Lafferty, but they're pretty much. So I was wondering, okay, so you have Mexico with a folktale tradition, and of course in Spanish, and you have Spain, from where many of that folk tradition was imported, and the exact same language. 2 countries react so diametrically opposite to Lafferty, and almost universally rejected or ignored in Mexico. I don't know.
What did you say was the last date of publication?
Yeah, so the last edition of this was in, I think 1990.
Okay, thank you. Very good.
Okay. The Japan has a lot of like books are translated to Japanese science fiction. I'm talking about like some books were translated to Japanese, like novel collection, anthologies, just to come to be about after the war. Japan has a big like science fiction is big in Japan. The translated science fiction is big in Japan, and in those 3,000, about 500 is a whole period anyway. And the property first kind of discovered by the famous Japan science fiction world has like the huge became translated two of them, like Asakura and Ito, considered like the biggest two translator ever. And guys most translated like the LaffCon2 short stories, which about hundreds, and I guess so. It's about the half of the all LaffCon2 short stories are published in Japan, and this Asakura found the LaffCon2 from the galaxy like in 1965, and its translation came, which is a rainbow, and translation came to the Japanese. It's called SF magazine, which is like the monthly published like a nationwide distributed, and since 1960, and still a few years ago they changed to like a bi-monthly, but still in business, and no website. So everything is have to come from like these magazines or just published as a book. And so 1967, the short story was translated to Japanese and appeared in and that's the next one is like 5 years later in 1972. The translated the whole on the corner, and few other short story was translated and appeared on the SF magazine. Actually, in the summer they had the LaffCon2 special, which had the I haven't seen it, and so I don't know exactly what. But several stories were translated, and probably the several introduction or essay or 10 came up. And by the way, that's it has like a special issue 4 times in the, and one I can tell when, but there's one also like a few stories and essays. Then the Wiki Diary, the SF magazine has like a special issue about his memoirs or something that's like 4 or 5 translations, a lot of like so which like about the half or the 1/3 or half of the part of the magazine. The monthly magazine was special issue, and also this is the last one. Memoirs of his like 100 years birthday, which is 2014 December issue. This is also translation and bunch of essays, includes Mr. Sonowick's described the Dakrai's translation, and also Mr. Schweizer's interview to the Lafferty, which was, I think, is the last year, the LaffCon2 book. Was that, that's the one. I think that one, the same one, was translated. And so those 4 special issues for Lafferty. And so the Lafferty's translation books, there was 7 novels was translated, and 6 collections were published, which 2 is a 900 Grandmother, and the Strange Doing is a translation, and 4 other collections are the Japan's original edited. And now you can buy you can still buy the 4 novels, still buy the 3 collections. This is kind of like a kind of Japanese, Lafferty fans. It's a dark age because that's you can't buy the 900 Grandmothers and the Strange Doing in Japan for the new books as in a bookstore, or only like they don't print it now, and they don't have the stock in the publisher don't have the stock, so you have to go second these books. So like that, and maybe I should tell you what's like translated titles, or maybe everyone knows. It's the first one is Alive at the, I'm going to say wrong, but Alive at the Easter Wine. Second one is The Devil is Dead, which both like, that's 83, so how many is that? 30 also, so years ago, published, and the publisher, they had about 200, it's called Sanyo. It's Sanyo is who makes Kitty. Yeah. Kitty, yeah, they had like a publishing department, and they published about 200 very good selections of the science books, like include Lafferty. Anyway, so those are the can't buy it. It costs about like $50, $70 now. And that's the Post Mansion, came out a few years ago. This is the Past Master, also from, no, that one. So is the Glass, the hardcover version, this one. Now, not anymore, not published anymore, not printed anymore, but now has a soft cover, smaller paperback version is out. And actually, the same as Spain, okay, this, the Leaves of Us, and the Fourth Mansion, and the Space Shanty, extent of the covers, they're all translated by the same person called Kiichiro Yanashita. He is he's kind of considered as an authority for doing the difficult translation, like in Spain, and I think he does a very good job. Yeah. And that's the serpent egg, and bottom is space shanty. And that's the 900 grandmothers. Left is the 1981 version hardcover. The first one, first book publication in Japan in 1981. That was the first one. The second was a software smaller version. And yeah, both they are not publishing now. It's a strange doing. Japanese title is a continual network. Which is yeah, okay, that's a strange doing. Yeah. This one is the title is Afternoon of the Children.
Among the Harry Earthman. Which afternoon of the children makes sense.
Okay, that's the Japanese original collection came like in 1982, 3 or so around. There's a newer version. The old one is gone. And it's called they put the English title Laffari Reader. That's Japanese original title. It's just having this theme there. And yeah, this is something that we bequest of the week. I think that's like a main title in Japanese, and English title they put is the last astronomer and other stories. Collection of about to like small number of twice the later LaffCon2 had all those. There was about 11 or so there was like a small number of less stories. The last one is the stories Japanese original collection. Last was is LaffCon2 the best or something like 2002. The SF margins special.
And we should mention that this is Kenji-san's website.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
How did you say Kenji's full name?
That's Kenji Matsuzaki. There's a two big fan of like LaffCon2 who has a big homepage. Kenji Matsuzaki appears on that East of LaffCon2. He has one, and he has a ton of like material written about the LaffCon2, and the guy like Tetsuya Hayashi has like a very good which one came out which year in Japan, and have a pretty complete like a record of the website. And they both were very active until like 10 years ago. Both were very active writing all those like home pages, but they don't write it anymore. Kenji is all like actively writing on Twitter about LaffCon2. And
Kenji said he's writing something new for the next piece of Black.
Kenji
said he is writing something new for the next piece of Black.
next. Oh, okay.
And also that is going to e-channel.
I'm gonna.
Illustrations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only other thing I was asking you is some of these pictures that you had shared. What is this from?
This is a comic book called SF Master.
Yeah.
Japan has a lot of comics, and there's a lot of tons of like great like science fiction comics also. But people write about the science fiction. This one also is called Torimiki. His English kind of, sometimes he uses the English name as like a Mickey Bird. Anyway, this book is about 20, published 20 years ago, about like 30 or 40 of all the science fiction, like 40 translated based on the story, but only based on the title. Title is the same, and the inside story different. Nothing really connected to the basic story. But yeah. So that's the one I posted like a black and white one about the book.
That's not this.
This is a rough sketch of the U-turn. For the Mix of Us, the new edition probably came last year. Colored one, yeah, on the somewhere else. You can just show it. I can just
Sure.
Okay. All right. This is about 20 years ago. Appeared on the some magazines, computer or gaming magazine that's about writing about computers on the remote regions of remote regions, that type of words. That's this is a writer actually. One of the most famous, reviewer translator. His name is Nozomi Omori. He wrote the sentences, and actually, the illustrator called Keinojo Mizutama, very famous and a big name, and she died a few years ago, at the age of 55 or so. So she wrote this like 22 years ago, about 20 years ago. So that's a effect of the three. That's a Kachayaku Matsuko of three. And this is a terabyte, which in the what's the name of the town? City? You get it. Do you get it? My illustration? Yeah. So that's it. Just explains like about the effects was written in the gas we translated we translated yeah, in some expressions about that effect. This is a U-Chan's pretty new illustrator. He does a lot of work on the book cover, and this is her own project. If she writes a book cover for reader, which was it original or no? Maybe Strange Reader.
One of the ones we looked at was called the LaffCon2 reader. It looks like an original Japanese.
Okay, so then it is. I only recognize that been a long time, and that the hinges, growing hinges of the world, and yeah, like secret group of that. Yeah. I don't really recognize others. Maybe the Seeding Bears, the Seeding Bears. It's cutting the head was like a growing hinges. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Anyway, these pictures are coming from that.
Here's the color.
Yeah, this is the leaf of the cars. She has a wonderful job, I think. And she actually is kind of recognized in US too. That now that she has a 5-book series of some Czech writers' books that she's doing the cover for American publisher. Yeah, this is 900 grandmother, which is not really PC and not really a good taste, but since just this name doesn't appear so much in the all I knew, I put it here on the Facebook. So that's one way that it's. Each episode is a 4-page story, and this book has about 30 or 40 stories, which only name is the same, and inside the story is different and original. So just show so he's in Japan also similar to Spain too. That's the two very big name like the translators loved his story. They translated most of them and put it in a SF magazine and other anthologies. And also some of the reviewer, the famous big name reviewer and translator, also another, like, for example, Nozomi Omori is a very big translator now, and anthologist and like reviewer. Probably most popular in Japan in the science fiction world. He loved LaffCon2. And he once said in the 80s, who is the world greatest like a writer? LaffCon2, no question at all. And so that someone may be called like Maki Shinji. He's also very popular like reviewer and writer about the science fiction. He also that's actually he edited like special edition part for this 100 years anniversaries.
Do you know what the circulation numbers were?
Circulation number?
And how many copies?
705.
No, not the number, not the issue number.
Oh.
How many copies would they have printed, or how many readers?
That's I don't really know. And I don't really know any of those like numbers for the books. But often, or used to be like in Japan, like once it's published, they just keep publishing. But I don't really know the numbers. So those are the famous people in like pro the science fiction that's loved LaffCon2 and pushed to put on the magazine or the publish it. That's why I think LaffCon2 is popular or famous. He's also popular as Asimov, Kurako, Heinlein. They have a lot more books published in Japan. But LaffCon2 is pretty like kind of second group who has like about 10 books published. Most writers like also like more less books, like 3 or so is published each time. So he's like kind of second best class.
So just last question before we move on for time's sake. The question that was asked of Rosario, would you be willing to speculate on what the cultural context in Japan is that makes the readers receptive to him, that his work is still in print?
Really, but a little bit is Japanese likes his novel wasn't, oh no, that's not true. Japanese has a folklores, and also like kind of funny stories, and like there's a certain number of people like the weird stories, like the John Sladek or television, that kind of. So those people like the Laffy differently. So like the Japanese, like the let's say big three Japanese SF writer also has a lot of funny stories, like humor stories. So a lot of people like Laffy because of those funny story.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'll try to keep it short. So it's a rather sad story, I would say. Going back to the beginning of Soviet Union, commercial publishing was completely crushed in the late 20s. So the last commercial publisher that was still alive by like 1928, I think, publishing the books of Maxim Gorky, who was, of course, the communist writer at the time. And when his collection of work was finished, that publisher was also destroyed. So for a long time, it was Iron Curtain, and very few Western books made it into the Russia. But during so-called Russian Spring, when Khrushchev came to power, and Stalin kind of fading away for some time, there were more and more science fiction writers publishing. Their works were very weak and kind of not that interesting, but there was a great hunger with this kind of literature in Russia. People were looking to the West. And of course, travel to the capitalist countries was very limited at the time. So it's only communist officials or KGB agents or diplomats who can travel more or less freely, advantage their positions. And they were bringing back books, science fiction books. They read them and they were distributing them among their friends. So it was kind of dripping, very, very little, short, sort of big inflow of books, but they were coming to Russia, and little by little, people were finding out about these great science fiction writers from England, from the United States. But the process was very random and sort of prone to chance, essentially. So it really depended which of those KGB agents went to which bookstore and what book he looked and what attracted his or her attention to the cover. And then, you know, we end up reading these stories for 20 days after that. The other layer of this was that, of course, during Soviet times, we were blessed with very good translators. Those translators mostly were writers who were not acceptable to the communist regime, so they could not really write and be published. So they went into translating business, and there were some incredibly strong translators at the time, to very high standard. So whoever passed through that filter in terms of, let's say, American writers at the time, are recognized in Russia as outstanding writers, and they're very popular. Now, when then that time passed and we come into the 90s, sort of time of market revival in Russia and the release of all the controls, the situation is quite opposite. So now they can publish anybody they want, but the quality of translations is extremely poor. And essentially, they pay students, like, they give them peanuts to translate something for them. Nobody cares about quality anymore. I'm just fast forwarding to the 90s. So, speaking of, and by the way, this is a painting by a Californian artist whose name slips my mind right now, but I saw that a good representation of Soviet leaders in the 60s and 70s who were voraciously devouring British and American science fiction that was coming in a very short, small quantities, killing it in the night from the field. So, to the next slide, please. So these are pictures from the first LaffCon2 publications. So interestingly, the first story published in Russia, it was a translation of 7 Days of Horror, came out in a magazine in 1965. But already told some of you in the conversation we had earlier, the process was very strange at the time. So of the story had to be approved by an official, but everybody was still harboring a lot of fear from the time of great repressions during Stalin's regime. Take any responsibility, anything. So it would take extreme courage of somebody to actually approve a story for publication. And they would ask many different reviewers to read it and to see if there is something subversive in the story, something anti-communist, news that can be inferred to some dissident or a person who's anti-communist, and so on and so forth. So it was extremely cumbersome process. Somebody approved that story, and people just ran with it. There was 4 translations. I think this one says 3, but I heard of 4 different translations. And it came in several different magazines, and it was published in an anthology, in a hardcover book in 1968. It was an anthology of humorous science fiction that was at the time deemed the least harmful science fiction to people's mind. So after that, for 5-6 years, there was no new LaffCon2 at all. It's probably because of that process of random picking, because we had a humor, Heinlein, and I think maybe 1 or 2 stories by Philip, who was completely not kosher for Soviet Union on that scale. And then in 1974, there were 2 stories published, one of them called Really Honey, in a magazine called Nani Sila, that means knowledge is power. And another one, I forgot the title, I think came out in the same magazine. This magazine is very famous in Russia at the time because it was very forward-thinking, and it was a place of refuge for many non-conformistic writers, such as Strugatsky brothers, for example. They had a short run in the 60s when they were freely published, and after that, not a single publisher would take their manuscript for more than 10 years. In their books with this magazine, and that's where we would read them for the first time. So to the next slide, please. And now we move to the 90s. This is time of freedom in Russia. Very short decade when KGB did not control everything. And it was also a time of a great revival in science fiction publications. So people who, for their whole life, were dreaming about publishing books by certain authors or releasing, publishing a magazine completely dedicated to science fiction, finally could do it. And there were 2 or 3 years when they actually had money to do it, while the Russian market took over. And this is the first, and I think probably the only fiction magazine that was publishing a lot of translations of foreign science fiction. And I think it stopped coming out a couple of years ago. But in the 90s, it was the magazine that you subscribed to if you wanted to read a good quality science fiction, speculative fiction.
You know, they had his name as Robert Lafferty?
Yes, that's a misprint, I believe. Actually, on two occasions, they called him Robert Bradley. I haven't even known that. And so the first cover is for, what is it called in English? The Night from,
Slow Tuesday night.
yes, Slow Tuesday Night.
Yes.
Second one is The Man on the Knees, and the third one is 900 Grandmothers on the picture. So this is just 3 examples, but they published, I think, around 10 or 15 stories by life in this 10 or so years. And that's covered for the first time encountered life. So to the next slide, please. And this is from year 2000, and I didn't really witness it myself because I moved to the United States. So politically speaking, Russia went back into the when, you know, everything Western considered bad, and there is a lot of fake patriotism and unpleasant realities there right now, and it very badly affected publishing market. But on the other hand, the new technologies made it possible for individuals, for fans, to take it on their own hands. Yes, for example, people were using rotoprints and typewriters to make books, and it was called samizdat in Russian. It's like self-published, not officially published. The same thing is happening again under Putin, but now it looks much fancier. And so for example, I have some of the examples here. They're published by Sergei Gontaryov, who is a member of our Facebook group. And I had a long correspondence with him. He was ordering some old magazines with stories, and he ordered them to my address. And I put them together and shipped them to him so he can translate. He translated most of the stories in his books, and his translations, I wouldn't call them professional, but serviceable at least. So at least if you're really curious what life is about, you get an idea. But of course, that unique flavor is often not there, unfortunately. But the interesting thing about these books, love and attention, he commissioned new art for some of the stories. For example, this painting there was newly commissioned. And also, whenever possible, he included original illustrations from all the original publications through these stories. So, of course, these are not official publications. The run is about maybe from 30 copies to 50 copies of each book. So there are like rarities that just some friends get. They're not sold on open market or anything like that. So, but because I was helping him with the sources, he sent me some copies. So that means that Russian readers in general don't have access to LaffCon right now. And yet more and more of his books are coming out every year. So they exist, and they probably can be found and downloaded and read. Because in Russia now it's the biggest market for books. Nobody buys books anymore. Everybody downloads them and reads them for free immediately. And it's a bad thing, but that's what is happening there right now. So that's a short version of what I was going to say about LaffCon in Russia.
Thank you. What do you think the numbers are as far as readers?
As far as readers go, well, I think if you consider stories that were published in the 70s and 80s and 90s, when runs were much, much larger. So Yesterday, for example, had, I think, maybe 200,000 copies at some point of each issue, then it's a lot of people. But now, market changed a lot. So a lot of people just want to read Russian writers. Just like we had this huge appetite for American writers in the 90s, it's not there anymore. So now it's all kinds of patriotic science fiction about how Russia conquers the galaxy, unbelievable crap, but that's what people want to read. If you readers sophisticated enough and interested enough to search for left stories. But of course, there are, it's a huge country, so you can find a few thousand people for sure who would be in the know on left. One last. So in a way, it's just about unfortunate timing, because for example, this Philip Dick, he was known by maybe 3 stories for 40 years. And then all of his major works are published, and pretty much everybody knows. So he's a household name now. But Sheffield. So I thought it was one of the leading American writers, and he came to the US. That the booksellers don't know what I'm talking about. So that was a big shock to me. And I think Sheffield and Lafferty are kind of in the same boat, except we had a few fans at the time when these books were published in the first place, who made possible this development. And Lafferty just didn't find, his books didn't find the right people at the time. And perhaps also that layer of theological information in his books. In Russia at the time, everybody was a proud atheist, and there was no education from theology whatsoever. So we wouldn't recognize it if we would, if we come across it. So that thing made his book sort of isolated case and not accessible.
Thank you. A few minutes, if anybody has any.
Yeah. Was Past Master published in Russia, and how was the scheme, so with Utopia, how were they received over there?
I think it was published recently by the same guy. It's right in the center of the right top, my book, the blue one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Kyle, can you read Russian? Strong.
I don't know if it made any splash or anybody. I have no information about the reader's reaction, unfortunately. But if at some point it's published officially and more people have access to it, I think it will make a very strong impression on readers there.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I?
I need to make an announcement before everybody goes through.
Yeah, I missed the one. The SF magazine, the one, they make like a once a year like a special like SF issues about the, and they have like about 100 SF professionals like writers, translator, editors, like vote for what's good for that year, like best of them. So like kind of Nebula Awards or something like that. And LaffCon2 appears. I just wanted to when it 2013 the Post Martian. They voted for the number 7 for the 40 SF. So number 7.
And that's a poll of all of the readers of that science fiction magazine.
No, the 100 like a science fiction professionals. So like it was a Nebula Award.
Yeah.
So kind of pretty much for the one publisher does, but this is the best like a number you can get in Japan. So
Right.
and 2000 can I have a little 2005 the Space Shanty became number 1. And Diaspora was the no, did I say number 5? Space Shanty came number 5. Number 5. Diaspora came number 1. And
He's still recognized as one.
so yeah, he's so recognized with at least to the pro, not really for the sales. Right? And 2003. 2002, the Leaf of the Earth came number 6. There was like number 10. 1906, I think it's the Strange Doings. Strange Doings, the number one. Actually, yeah, for that year, voted. Yeah, okay. And last one, very cool. Of course, this best 10 list is since from 1990, so the old one doesn't appear on these. So like 1903, the Japanese original the collection, the LaffCon2 leader came to number 2 on the number 10 list. That's how he is kind of recognized as good for at least the professional work. People buy the books according to these, like a lot of people buy books according to this. So really
Very
good.
short question. What do you call fourth mansions in Japanese, considering mansions and something different?
Okay, fourth mansion, Dai Yon no Yakata, fourth, and Yakata is that's mansion. In Japanese, mansion is like an apartment, kind of higher level apartment and bigger than the small one, but yes, Dai Yon.
Actually, closer to the meaning that Teresa had for mansions, because she was meaning rooms inside a castle for mansions.
So real quick order of business, just like last year, whoever wants to extend the party after we're done here and come out to dinner with us, we're just going nothing fancy, again, standard American diet, we're going to the Applebee's down the road. Whoever wants to join us, you can raise your hand just so we can get a head count for Rob and call.
Okay, so I can count this high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay.
I would consider it, but I need to ride back to Princeton afterwards.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Well, I don't know if anyone can.
We can talk about it afterward.
Yeah, no, it's just it's not going to matter.
I'm gonna, maybe I should say 20 just to make sure.
Is anybody driving back towards the train station?
Yeah, I could.
Will you drop me off?
Yeah, I do that.
All right, well, this is good for the break. See, I've been
He's wearing one of your shirts.
All right, try to regroup at quarter after. I'm going to be strict about calling everybody back in. Hey.
This is where it's sort of split. You just go back like that. I know. Yeah, but if you go to the Applebee's, you can operate on one again. So just stay. Right, of course.
This is
Yeah. Well, I'm expecting unfortunate events to happen here.
Likes groceries, so
for Andrew's sake. So right, the inspiration was Yakov's new illustrations for Pan Planet and Even Bear Planet. And they're both a little bit more obscure Lafferty stories. Pan Planet has never been collected. It's one of a couple of 60 stories. Like the 4 major collections collect almost every Lafferty 60 story, and this one never got included. So Daryl has the original World of Tomorrow Digest this year that it was published in. And Even Bear Planet was in Universe 12.
Oh, okay.
So again, that probably had a wider audience. And,
Well, I think there was a book competition, otherwise it's a double-day book.
right.
Which
There was
was- Otherwise, this would have gone to libraries and been to a few years ago, ground up and destroyed.
You guys had a decent circulation. I still see copies.
In the mid-70s, probably, yeah.
That was less available.
It's good as streaming.
So to introduce the panel is stories have to do with exploration of new planets. Case of the Moth-Eaten Magician, wonderful treatise on science fiction by Lafferty. He makes this statement. Me, most of the great moments of SF are planet falls, unshipping and setting foot on new worlds. Planetfall is a daily thing, one that never grows stale. It happens a dozen or 100 times a day. A really new world, and there's always the feeling of having just arrived on it. More than 90% unexplored by ourselves. We get on with the exploration. It's an intricate and massive world, prodigious in detail and almost beyond numbering in its dimensions. Physically astonishing, prodigal in line and color, alive on a dozen different levels, great friendliness and affection in most of its fauna, and especially in its superior fauna known as mankind. It's more delightful than all tribbles and fuzzies that can be imagined. Probably a masterwork among worlds. It is loaded with encounters and happenings. We do not forget that etymologically, all happenings are happening. I'll just stop there. But so I'm interested in these stories as examples of what Lafferty's interested in describing a planet called. Exploring alien planets, setting foot on a new world is reveals something about our own world. Superior fauna of our world. And they accomplish in these stories. I'm also just interested in the story structure and what they're doing. I think they're both great stories. Pan Planet in particular is underrated. So I have that.
I would describe them as, think of them as really twisted Star Trek episodes. Basically, they're all about crashing prime directors. And the planets, both planets seem nice and friendly and all that, but they're not. And particularly in Pan Planet, the humans are not nice at all. They're very badly behaved. What may upset a lot of readers is that the cruel humans actually seem to win. The alien they tortured into cooperating at the end, doing the showbiz. The last thing he does is ask about so he figured that he's going to be, basically he figured he's going to be a freak and be fun instead of he's going to. And the other one, Feeding Bear Planet is surely just an outrageous parody of everything like Little Fuzzy. Yeah, it just you land on a planet there are cute aliens and that can turn nasty. Yeah, like that. It's like that thing only right there. And then you discover it's a ghost of yourself,
Yes.
and it devours everything. Well, I mentioned the one text which was discovered I made, which is that the text of this So Stevie Barefoot in Iron Tears is badly defective. There's a garbled paragraph at the end, a lot of typos in it. Read it elsewhere if you can. This is in Universe 12.
Well, I like looking at the evolution of, actually, I don't know the publication dates of the two stories, but I'm assuming.
1975 and 1982. Okay.
I'm assuming that Penny Planet was written a lot earlier, because there's a very different, between the two stories. In Penny Planet, the clever militaristic humans, yeah, maybe, they might have been tricking, letting the bugs into show business, which might have been their ulterior motive all along. But it's a more standard, sort of golden age pulp sci-fi type of conclusion. And Thinking Bear Planet is the opposite. They have everything off from them, including their memories and their ability to process the events that had happened to them without really resorting to, except for one cleverness of stabbing the ghost of Manbreaker with a wooden stake, which is just drawn in every old damn time.
It doesn't really work though.
Well, it sort of does. It gets us
Slows them down.
Slows them down. Yeah, exactly. I actually associate Thinking Bear Planet more with World of Bounty in terms of a similar cycle and thinking story.
These, of course, are, you know, two short stories, and basically, I think, you know, if you're going to introduce Lafferty to someone, it'd be best to introduce him through one of the more accessible short stories, you know, and these also aren't obviously two of the seven, you know, aren't part of these 17 habitable planets because we don't really do too well there. But they're just good examples of a Lafferty short story where just the really absurd things are just being said almost as matter of fact. Again, another a lot of Lafferty makes it so much fun, and it is, you know, his I'd like to have a list of funny names, but you know, here we got, you know, George Mahone, Elfbad, Benedict Crookscran, Luke Franza, Selma Lasrose, Gladys Marclair, and Dixie Lake Clark. I mean, that's just a great Lafferty list to me.
Pretty tame for him.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, pretty tame, but still pretty good. Again, they're two good examples. I think I like TV Bear Planet more as a story, you know, because it is more developed. It's obviously probably written later. You know, that's basically what I'll start with.
Well, you know, one thing that occurs to me off the Stephen Bear Planet shares a universe. There's a universe of, you know, a lot of these stories. It mentions Cameroid, it mentions, there's one where they mentioning missing the foodstuffs. About Astroby, apple, the Cameroid currants, and Rackrell, rye bread, etc. Some of these names are familiar. Someday something to work on our Lafferty concordance, you know,
Yeah.
figure out how the universe works.
You know, Plexus is part of that 17.
Yeah, but, think about Penny Planet is, well, it was published in January '64. Immediately, it would probably, but it would have to have been written in the middle of 1964. You know, lead time to think what they are. So it's early Lafferty.
Yeah.
And it almost reads like Galaxy Star, like a Robert Shanklin or something. It's not really top for Lafferty, I don't think. I think Phoebe Bear Planet is the one if you wanted to introduce to somebody Lafferty story, that would do it.
Yeah, at Penny Planet, I was looking for that twist, that extra layer of storytelling in the world beneath the
Yeah, and that twist would be like, you know, the Dixie character who turns out never to have existed, never to really have been there.
But he tells us that in one of the first paragraphs.
Yeah.
He tells us there are 6 people in this, group, and then names 7.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, we're counting.
Also, just to interject for a second, I was thinking of both stories as detective stories, and one of the unpublished works I'm most eager to see is a detective novel. They both work as mystery stories, and like you said, Panic Planet is the more standard, where you have this mystery of this resurrected man, and then you get the solution with the miming, or the storyteller that can't mime.
Yeah.
And I forget the hero's name, but he says, you mentioned that you couldn't mime.
Yeah.
So it's the standard detective, like, oh, we seen it earlier, here's the callback to that.
Yeah.
Larry specifically makes the callback, but then the Thieving Bear Planet, when we find out she's just a psychic projection of the, you go back and you reread it, and not only is she the 7 listed in the 6, but that whole paragraph has parenthetical comments on the nature of the people, and in the beginning there he says sheer spirit, she.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Which the first time going through it, you read it as metaphor, and you,
Right.
he just lays it out there.
Well, Panic Planet is, I mean, you mentioned that this is published in Astounding, it would be a straightforward planetary mystery story. You know, the strange thing we found on the other planet is it's a very, very common plot situation. I mean, another writer could have written both of these as horror stories. Humor at all, and they might work. I imagine if Panic Planet were just say by Murray Leinster and Astounding in 1955, it could have the same plot, but it'd be very different. Probably this was interesting.
Yeah, it would have been either a straight military victory or a straight, you know, the humans are, a little bit later, the humans are raiding this planet.
Well, let's see, Astounding that would have been a straight military victory. Yeah. Ray Bradbury had written it would have been a straight raping the planet. Yeah. And then remarkably, the people, the humans in Thieving Bear Planet seem to be reasonably well intentioned. The ones in Panic Planet are not well intentioned. The illustration we have in here, Yakup's illustration, they look like, they look like fascists.
Yes. And they act like them.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can see our come back. Here's what the bug looked like. The original was almost a little bit more Lewis Carrollish. And why this guy has got a sword and it's whole, that I don't understand.
But Panic Planet also, one thing of what I consider Lafferty's projection is that he talks about the strategic they're being backed into, but that everyone's telling us what it is. Up to our imagination, because of course we've read enough of this type of story to know that these types of strategic situations happen in stories and can supply that out of our own imagination and memory. But he never does actually tell us what the strategic situation was.
One thing it was interesting reading Panic Planet and Fourth Mansions close together is how much issues about identity are just all over Lafferty.
Yes, yes, yes. On that too, on this reread.
And I would say that language plays a great part in Panic Planet. And when I was reading it for the first time, it immediately reminded me of Oklo Hanari, because language is such a big part of the short story. The natives have a very different language structure, and when they're trying to adopt human concepts, it's hard for them. They struggle, but they also use it as an instrument of deceit.
Yes.
To mislead the humans. So I thought it was a very clever flavor.
Yeah, and that's excellent. That's the story from the traditional.
You know, the first odd circumlocution, you originally wonder if it's typo, and then you realize it's not. I think there's actually one place where you even talk like that, I think maybe a typo.
No, because the one character you actually can understand.
So yeah, in addition to the translation things in the story, there is some, it's not deep, but there is some commentary on the clash of cultures and one of those being conquest. I forget the one passage of something about the difference between being simple and, you know what I'm talking about, anything? I don't have the story on me.
Yes, where they have to regard the bugs as being higher intelligence than the average.
I can't remember the passage. It's
a little fuzzy, probably. Again, a very standard science fiction trope. You find the two aliens, you have to determine whether or not they're intelligent in a legal sense, because if they're not, then you can just spoil them that they're mice or something. And of course, this is wonderfully parodied in Thieving Bear Planet, where we're reading French horror novels.
Well, I mean, if you have a very classic thing here, is this paragraph where they talk about, the creatures came to the ship's dock, found a place that should have been impossible. Candy and Dixie snuff. They stole by drinking it on the spot. George Mahood's He-Man cinnamon, there's that cinnamon again. 13 bottles of it, yeah, just going on, and Dixie Lake Bar's French horror story novels.
So, they also steal all the comic books.
Yes. Which are written in some strange dialect. But anyway,
Yeah.
more appreciated than anyway.
Oh, yeah, and then you got like, a packet of 10-centimeter thick Cape buffalo steaks, mountains of midland mushrooms, cackle-like currants, ascorbate apples, elk eels, wrapped full of rye bread, galaxy brand kosher butter, Green Mountain coffee, Ganymede cigars. Last the everlasting hills. Testimonial said that was. Like I said, you could do a whole list of lists. You know, he just loved the list things.
And the literature.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And I mean, like, who else doesn't want to try a 10-centimeter thing? At least those of us that are meteors. Yeah, I want one.
But they stole the flavor from it.
That's true.
They stole the flavor.
Yeah.
You eat 4-centimeter steaks.
Have attention, please. Time. 4:37, the library will be closing at 5 o'clock. If you have things to check out, please come to circulation this time. If you're working on the public computers, your window will automatically shut down in 10 minutes, so we get to save you work. In approximately 45 minutes at 5 o'clock.
But the thing is, it's obviously Thieving Bear Planet has more of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Than Panic Planet. It's just,
It's the mature library.
yeah, well, it's definitely a short one.
As opposed to the other really early.
So he's also playing with specific science fiction ideas. So the names them all, but then by the end they're indistinguishable almost.
Yes.
Right. Because in any science fiction novel, half the time you're caught up in the story and the characters stop mattering.
And this is the library that published in a late 70s, early 80s, the anthology series, like Universe.
Well, this is actually pretty classic stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely classic stuff. Yeah.
Kenny Robinson, Howard Waldrop, Nancy Kress, Jim Kelly.
And it's really Kim Stanley Robinson.
Yeah, probably the
Absolutely glorious Howard Waldrop, too.
In fact, I think that might be the last Universe anthology.
There is a 13, because I found it when I was looking for that.
Well, no, they don't, everything for itself.
Yeah.
Do you, I read Penny Planet after this convention. Do you think it was written specifically on request for Worlds of Tomorrow because it has the ending that whereas Lafferty is not typical?
Lafferty was already a regular in Fred Holt's magazine at this point. On the cover. It's not regarded as famous enough or important enough. He had been published in Galaxy and since about 1960. Regular, and it was.
Yeah, it strikes me that he was writing it trying to get into these specific markets.
Well, obviously he'd already done that a dozen times at least. Whether he specifically.
Reading about planet. That
Well, certainly if the spacemen went, first of all, they're really nasty spacemen, and secondly, he certainly subverted the whole thing.
I also wonder if this might have been an earlier story that he dusted off and resubmitted. Because he did do that with stories that have been rejected earlier.
Yeah, but it's already early, and this was his best market at the time. Very usual story, and that's analog never. Well, we're never going to be an analog writer, no matter what. I mean, the first stories he published were in Future, but that was that magazine was dying by the time we had a story or two in it. So basically, during the first half of the '60s, It and Galaxy were his main markets. Actually, a companion to those two. So I suspect it was just routine in that sense.
With Penny Planet, how many people read the ending of the poor bug in its mission, and how many read it as the bug was mining, being tortured, and actually manipulating the humans into getting services?
Certainly that last line is very peculiar, and the humans are facing. And also, the humans are facing something they can't handle. This is not the way by which astounding heroes would have. Not the way astounding heroes would have won. They win by being more intelligent and knowing more science than the enemy. It's not the way that it's not the destination they would have gotten to with their victory. It's not quite as much of a. This is not as direct a subversion as some of Adam Davidson's early stuff, but it's a subversion.
Yeah. That was pretty subversive stuff. What being subverted is was there to be astounding militaristic level. Galaxy and that had always been devoted to.
Now, comparing Penny Planet to Ride of Tin Can. Well, that's with the shelling, the singing pigs, and the men ringing the bell, and the singing pigs running off, and we turned into Christ.
You need to reread it.
It's one of those more beautiful stories. It's one of those stories I rate as a 6 on a scale of 1 to 5. Because that's very clearly about Western American treatment of Native Americans. Or at least that's one of the clear interpretations of that story. I'm wondering if there's an element of that in Penny Planet.
Well, there's one thing you remember that Iesca, or however you pronounce his name, is sort of like on a low totem pole there. He's not really doing great on Penny Planet. You know, presumably he's probably going to make out well on Billboard.
Yeah.
And he knows how to exploit it. So maybe they involved to get off the planet and succeed.
Well, he's a low ranked.
Yeah, he's low ranked, so
He doesn't have enough talent to do anything else.
right.
So he has enough talent to make it on Earth.
Actually, I can see that.
which is again a total subversion of the John Campbell mode of science fiction where the humans have to be smarter than the aliens. You know, basically, one of the things that was Eric Frank Russell and others, it turned into a complete cliche. The stupid funny alien story. Humans outsmart the aliens, the aliens are basically stupid. Even in Galaxy and the Retief series by Keith Walmer is very much stupid funny aliens. And so it would be very relevant. Lafferty is presumably reading the magazine he was publishing it. So he's subverting the stuff or parodying the stuff that is
It brought to my mind a Philip Dick story, Taste of Love. It's kind of another take on the same subject, right? To be kind of naive and stupid, but actually possesses a special power and easily overcomes humans. Immediately in a benevolent way, sort of.
There is a Philip K. Dick story in this called Retreat Syndrome in this issue. And otherwise, with a big chunk of the lead item is the Day of the Great Shout by Philip K. Farmer. Of Jewish scattered bodies down. This is the first appearance of Riverboard. No. And with the Sydney Van Skya and the Theodore Thomas.
Do you know by any chance if Philip Dick and Lafferty read each other's stuff and if there was some cross-pollination?
Was Dick one of the D's that you said that document? That's what we were speculating about. I don't think so, but it could be. In Telephonic, he lists contemporary science fiction writers that he thought were good humored, and he mentions guys like Shankly. I can't think of the last off the top of my head. But then he says, even you won't believe this, but even I might have had it sometimes. The D didn't have it, and the other D didn't have it, and that other D didn't have it. In addition, Delaney issue with, but the third D is, we might not even worry about that.
Well, remember there was a time once when Lafferty wrote a series of doggerel verses about other writers.
Yes.
He took issue with this about everybody.
You can't do that for all impossibility. I don't Lafferty like you can't at all.
I remember really crashed with Spider Robinson. Something like the line was something like Donnie doesn't have a head, he doesn't have a body.
Labels with a rusty label. Something about how this.
I reread the Tom Jackson interview, and Jackson asked him about reception of his work. Most of the reviews have been fair, except for people who completely misunderstood him. He said it's Spider Robinson was one of those. But then I got back at him. I don't know, that's just a humorous instance of he enjoyed that kind of feuding and wanted Robinson to fight it back.
Anyway. Actually, it would be very funny to think of these two stories as Star Trek episodes.
You have to have a cute blonde bear from Beacon Planet.
Well, no, actually, the imaginary composite person would be intense and expensive.
Yes, he should be the hottie, yeah.
Those ghosts and struggles all along.
Yeah, I mean, Sturgeon wrote a couple of best episodes.
I didn't see Paddy Potter becoming devil in the dark. It would have a different ending, but that's mandatory.
Basically, Kirk would have had a romantic relationship with the imaginary person.
Jake's forward make recommendations. So for someone who likes Patty or Barrett, so which recommend
Well, for Thief and Bear, the obvious next story for me is World Bounding.
Sorry?
World Bounding.
Yeah.
Because it has actually a fairly similar plot arc. The explorers land on a planet that has been, where the previous expeditions have been poorly documented. So they're going to go down and figure it out. Of course, they get caught up in exactly the same mythopoeic strangeness of that world, of its thirst for life and creation, that winds up pretty much breaking their minds as they finally go back, and the only report they can make is, we believe. It's a beautiful story.
Thing is, it's not a planet landing thing, because it's a settled world. I just read the Annals of Plexus. Very typical funny planet, kind of Lafferty read, and for someone who isn't familiar with Lafferty, and
It's also got ghosts. It's also got ghosts.
yeah,
That is a good way. Yeah, if you like this story, read this novel.
I first saw those Frog on the Mountain. Might be a nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why would you make that leap? I love it.
Well, I mean, it's got enough of the similar, you start off by landing on a new planet, and you learn about the creatures that are on it. It's got its own inhabitants that you're not sure if you can trust them or not. But then it's got the multiple levels that are, Lafferty. Yeah, I think that.
What about finding grandmothers?
Yes.
that's what that is.
And Mandraker Triad is the ghost in Thief and Bear Planet.
Okay.
Oh, how about, Ginny Wrapped in the Sun? Now that is earth changing out from under you.
Well, you'd always recommend 9 minutes grandmothers.
Well, it is.
Somebody matches the other.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, you were looking for their encounter.
Yeah.
For the ghostly aspect, that was a very good ghostly Latin period, read Looks of Lab. Which is, I guess it has a little bit, it's got to do with, the supernatural element is seductive, you can't get away with it, and it follows you. Rather easily, you're not going to get away from the thieving bears, who are, of course, actually, the thieving bears, if people believe them, are, basically the projections of dead humans.
Yeah.
They're not really native life forms at all.
And how goes here comes along. That's more different.
So, another recommendation for me, though, would be a reverse recommendation. After the Painting Planet, to read Writer Tin Can, which is an infinitely sad version. To have revenge taken on the humans after all of that, Snuffles.
Maybe all the people.
What?
All the people, because it's a reverse situation.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Planet fall, but in our planet. So
Yeah.
But I thought those reverse pinballs, there's all of the words, right? Weirdest world.
Weirdest world is one of them.
Yeah, all the people in Guessing Time was a weird pair because it's a similar event for the exact opposite interpretation.
All right, I could talk about that for you all day, that's why I'm here. But it's close to closing time. I wanted to try to keep things on schedule.
So, there's some drive up here.
Oh, when we call things, in a picture, we're gonna try to get a good picture.
Okay.
I'd like to ask James North. I've spoken to a lot of you already, but I'm James North, on behalf of Locus Foundation, which you already know. Lafferty's works
have the rights to publish essentially everything in the United States. They're going to make a concerted effort to start getting stuff out as soon as possible this year. Maintain momentum on the project, make sure it happens. It's important. So the first step, I built a website. It's up to date. It's LaffCon2. There are 6 stories up there. Probably one you've already read. They're the public domain ones. So 6 fingers at a time. I'm going to keep adding the ones there as we go along. There's going to be a small write-up of this convention. There's a gallery. Pretty good ones, but it's something to show that interested in continuing on this project, and we really want to be involved with you guys and what you want out of us, and what you want to publish first,
Absolutely.
what you want to see in the cover, everything. So I'm going to be available. If anyone wants to take down my email address, it's north.union.com. And get that out to you on the website, and you can contact with this foundation for any questions, concerns.
LaffCon2.com.
All right.
Got
There's the Facebook group.
So yeah, somebody will post it before the date's up.
Yeah.
It'll be
I'm going to be 5 in this library. We'll be closing in 5 minutes at 5 o'clock. If you have any
So yeah, and I did that
questions,
how it
go
worked.
to the circulation
Again,
desk. The library is closing in 5 minutes. Thank you.
for coming.
Back there.
So what do you remember?
That says I want to be illustrated.
Well, that's what I did.
Yeah, right.
I can't do that.
Are you going to dinner or are you done? Okay.